Well, another week has come and gone, and it's time for me to talk about the week that was, week 12 of the 2014 NFL season. I'll start off with a couple of the top stories from the week. I think you first got to go to Oakland and the Raiders getting their first win of the season. The 2008 Detroit Lions record of 0-16 is safe for at least another year. The Raiders beat their divisional rival, the Kansas City Chiefs, on Thursday night. A win is a win, and at least they got one of them. Will they get any more this year? Hell, who knows? Then you've also got Buffalo, 6 feet of snow. The team can't practice. They're all snowed into their house. The game gets postponed. That was supposed to be on Sunday. It gets moved to Detroit on Monday. And then they go dig themselves out, go to Detroit, and absolutely snowball the pathetic New York Jets. I mean, with all the distractions and the lack of ability to really, practice. Yeah, you have technology, this and that, and everything else, but Buffalo to put up with all that and to show up like they did, and then for the Jets to completely not show up like they did, that was a big story to me. Lots of other storylines and plots throughout the course of the week. But now let's talk about some of the winners and losers from the week that was. In terms of winners, I got to go with the New England Patriots. Another convincing, dominant victory. This time over an NFC team that looks to be a playoff team, or at least a potential playoff team in the Detroit Lions. I mean, they owned them in every aspect of the game. I also got to look at the Cincinnati Bengals team. This is a team a few weeks ago that I was starting to really say sell, sell, sell on, and they looked like crap. But they've pulled it together. Now you're talking about a Bengals team at 7-3-1, and what appears to be clearly to me the best division in football at this point in time, based off of the records. This is a Bengals team that is leading their division and is very close to being in a position to contend to have a first round bye in the AFC portion of the playoffs. A nice turnaround for the Bengals. You look at the Seahawks. This is a Seahawks team that desperately needed to win against the Arizona Cardinals in Seattle, not only to keep any slim divisional hopes alive, but frankly, just so they could sit there and keep their hopes alive for the playoff race. Because in the NFC right now, it might take 11 wins to make the playoffs. It's going to take 10 for sure. You don't want to sit there and end up being 6-5, knowing you've got to play the Niners twice. You got to play Arizona again. You don't want that in your life. That's not a good thing. And obviously the Oakland Raiders, they got their first win of the year. A win is a win, and you take them however you can get them. Now let's focus on some of the losers from the week that was. And I almost seem like I'm being a bit of a negative Nancy here, but I got to throw the Chicago Bears in this category. Yes, they've won 2 straight games, but those 2 straight games have come against a not very good Minnesota Vikings team and an even worse Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. And in those 2 games, the Bears have looked far from impressive by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I would say that they're not playing any better at all. They're just playing a lower level of competition. And all they are doing now is keeping some super slim, unrealistic, idiotic playoff hopes alive to further keep the organization and the fan base in a state of delusion and delaying the inevitable that is needed, which is a complete and total rebuild, while all the while doing what the Bears organization always does over the years, winning too many games when they're going to be bad anyway, so that way they cost themselves a much better draft position. It's a typical Chicago Bears MO to me. I got to look at the Washington Redskins. What a disaster of a season. RG3 is a joke. Now there's talk about whether Jay Gruden's job is even going to be safe. I mean, the San Francisco 49ers didn't play all that well on Sunday, and you still couldn't find a way to get the job done. And then I look at the NFC South. You can say that whole division is full of losers, and the record clearly supports that. But I, in particular, want to call out the New Orleans Saints and the Atlanta Falcons. You're the Saints. You're not supposed to lose in New Orleans, yet you lose yet another home game. All the while knowing that in your division, guaranteed, the first team to 8 wins wins the damn thing, and it might only take 7 wins. Hell, at this point, 6 wins might get the fucking job done. And then the Atlanta Falcons, another example of screwing the pooch and blowing a late lead. You go up on the Browns with less than a minute to go. There it is. You're building some momentum. You beat a quality opponent. You've got the division in your grasp. You control your own destiny, and then they find a way to screw the pooch. And that epitomizes the Falcons season of 2014. Frankly, kind of epitomizes the entire NFC South. Some of the stars for the week for me, and I'm not really going to focus on quarterbacks. I'll focus on some other guys. I'll look at C.J. Anderson of the Denver Broncos. It looks like the Broncos have found their back for the rest of the year. He had 167 rushing yards and a touchdown as the Broncos beat the Dolphins. Got to look at Eddie Lacy. He had 138 all-purpose yards and 2 touchdowns to help the Packers move to 8-3 and beat the Minnesota Vikings. Obviously, you got to look at Odell Beckham Jr. of the Giants on Sunday night and what's been a every bit as good as advertised and frankly even better rookie wide receiver class. Odell Beckham is showing himself to be just as good and spectacular as anybody else. Watkins, Evans, Benjamin, it doesn't fucking matter. Some of the catches he made on Sunday night, in particular the one-handed job in the end zone, special type of stuff. 146 yards on 11 catches and 2 touchdowns. Odell Beckham has arrived, ladies and gentlemen. Josh Gordon has arrived too. He's finally off of his suspension. And with people not really sure of how much he was going to be deployed, how much he was going to be utilized, how much he was going to help, I mean, he made a difference for the Cleveland Browns. 8 receptions, 120 yards. He's a factor. He's a difference maker. And one of the biggest in-season acquisitions or additions in this case that you could possibly make for any team in the National Football League. And then I look at the Oakland Raiders and I go to Khalil Mack and C.O. Moore. Even though they made the dumb mistake of celebrating late in the game instead of hustling their ass back to get ready for the next play, and they got bailed up by a veteran calling a timeout, Khalil Mack and C.O. Moore imposed their will defensively on that game for the Oakland Raiders. They were all over the place. They were in the backfield. They were in the face of receivers and tight ends and ball carriers. These two guys dominated and imposed their will, and they're a major reason why the Raiders were able to win their first game this year. Imagine when you get a real coaching staff in there with a real defense, in particular in this case a full-time 3-4 defense, how scary this combination of Mack and Moore can be. And I also got to look at the returning Aldon Smith from suspension. Here's a guy you saw the difference in Week 12 for the 49ers against the Redskins. Aldon Smith is a difference maker. I was wrong about this kid coming out of Missouri. When he's on the field, man, he is something special. He is an elite edge rusher in the National Football League, and he adds an entirely different element to that 49ers defense and makes them that much more scary heading into the playoffs. Well, that's a week that was Week 12 of the 2014 NFL season. You're welcome to let me know what you thought the big stories were, the winners and the losers and the stars, the duds, whatever the case might be. Let me know down below.